Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be unpacking a really fascinating reflection on time, purpose, and how viewing our lives through the lens of eternity literally changes everything we do today. The source text we're looking at presents this profound framework for escaping what it calls the disposable way of living. So, we're going to break down these captivating concepts about our daily struggles, our long-term goals, and ultimately, our final destination.
Let's just jump right in with the simple but honestly profound question that really sets the stage for our entire journey today. What actually separates us from a mayfly? Now, I know it might seem like a kind of weird comparison at first glance, a tiny insect versus a human being, but the source material uses this exact comparison to highlight a deep psychological and spiritual divide in how we experience time itself. All right, moving right into Section 1, the mayfly and our tomorrow.
So, think about it. By its very nature, and honestly its name, the mayfly has no tomorrow. It can't imagine the future. No other mayfly has ever lived to tell it about tomorrow, so it makes absolutely no plans. It lives entirely for the immediate present. But humans, we're different. We know from experience that the sun is going to rise again. We possess this unique ability to anticipate the future. And because we have a tomorrow, the text argues that we absolutely cannot live as if today is all there is.
The crucial point here is that acknowledging tomorrow completely changes our responsibility for today. The author argues that if we're just living for instant gratification, without any plan or foresight, we are essentially adopting a disposable, one-day mindset. We're basically choosing the fate of the mayfly. Living without a plan for the future means our lives just lose their proper direction.
Which brings us to Section 2, Long Perspective Through Crisis.
The text introduces this really brilliant concept of long perspective, or insight. Basically, it defines this as the vital ability to interpret today's events, especially the really difficult, frustrating ones, through the lens of tomorrow. It means you aren't trapping the meaning of an event solely within the 24 hours it happened. When a door seems completely shut today, having a long perspective allows us to step back and look for the broader context. To illustrate this, the source text uses the historical account of the Israelites at the Red Sea, and it perfectly captures the exact emotional roller coaster we experience when a sudden crisis hits. Right? They start out with all this hope and liberation during the Exodus, but the second Pharaoh's army pursues them. Total panic sets in, and when they realize their path is blocked by the Red Sea, that panic turns to utter despair. They thought their story was completely over. But then, an unexpected path literally opens through the water for their deliverance.
You see, when we feel trapped by our circumstances, crises just make us lose our future-focused vision. The text notes that we tend to blow the immediate problem right in front of us way out of proportion. But taking a breath and looking at the problem again often reveals hidden meanings. By maintaining that long perspective we talked about, we can see that a blocked path or a closed door is often just an invitation for a totally different kind of deliverance. Shifting gears a bit, let's look at Section 3, Solving the Puzzle of Life. The author shares this fantastic anecdote about buying puzzles to help develop their kids' creativity. I mean, if you've ever dumped a 1,000-piece puzzle onto the living room floor, you know it looks like a chaotic, impossible mess at first. And, it usually results in at least one lost piece under the sofa. But as the kids work on it, piece by piece, that chaos transforms into a really coherent picture. The text suggests that our daily lives are exactly like those scattered pieces, just waiting to find their proper place in the grand picture. Now, the author points out 3 absolute non-negotiable steps for finishing that life puzzle. First is time. You can't just assemble a giant puzzle in a second. You need the patience to endure some tedious trial and error. Second is effort. There are 0 free rides here. You have to pay the price of dedication. And third, and maybe most importantly, is a big picture vision. You have to keep the final image in your mind while placing every single piece. If you lack the vision of the whole thing, you're never going to know where the daily pieces are supposed to fit.
The text actually points to Jesus as the ultimate model of this big picture vision. Quoting the Gospel of Luke, it highlights his words, "Today, tomorrow, and the next day I must go on my way." According to the source, he didn't just live for the stressful demands of the immediate moment. He purposefully moved toward the ultimate goal of his tomorrow, understanding his time in a completely holistic way. And this really reframes how we should view our own calendars. We can either live today but tomorrow, treating our days as these disconnected, isolated fragments, or we can live today and tomorrow. That signifies an interconnected, deeply meaningful relationship. Our days aren't just randomly stacked on top of each other. Today and tomorrow are deeply tied together. They're constantly influencing and shaping one another.
All right, moving on to Section 4,
the purposeful race of faith.
The source explores how the Apostle Paul deeply understood that we are not single-use beings. Just look at his words here. I do not run aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. The text argues that he recognized life as a race that requires a very distinct direction. He was moving with calculated purpose, rather than just swinging wildly at whatever daily challenges popped up. Building on that, the text highlights Paul's emphasis on letting go of the things that slow us down. He talks about forgetting what is behind, which actually we can kind of think of as those wrong puzzle pieces we tried so hard to force into place yesterday, and relentlessly pressing forward. He focuses entirely on straining toward his ultimate calling.
So, to boil down this purposeful race, the text offers some really clear takeaways. We are not disposable. Our daily puzzle pieces have to align with a broader design. And while every person's individual picture is going to look totally unique, the source notes that the underlying direction is the exact same for all believers: serving God and advancing His kingdom. That is presented as the universal framework for all of us.
And that leads us to our final part, Section 5, Tomorrow Promised by the Gospel.
This brings up a really powerful self-reflection question posed by the author. Ask yourself, what will my life's completed puzzle actually look like at the very end? And maybe, more pressingly, am I stubbornly trying to jam today's piece into the wrong spot just to satisfy my own immediate greed or short-term needs? It's a striking visual of how we so often fight against the big picture just to get what we want right now.
Remember that rule of interconnected time we talked about? Tomorrow is undeniably the result of today. A beautiful, abundant tomorrow doesn't just magically happen by accident. According to the text, a completed masterpiece is the direct result of faithfully aligning today's single puzzle piece with the truth and direction of the gospel. The text uses Paul again here to illustrate that faithfully assembling this puzzle day by day practically guarantees a glorious finish. At the end of his life, he confidently stated that he had finished the race. Because he kept his long perspective, he believed a promised crown was waiting for him. His tomorrow was totally secure because of how he handled his today. So, this brings us to the ultimate conclusion of the source text. It argues that the kingdom of God isn't just some abstract theological idea. It is a promised, tangible reward for those who devote their lives to this path. This is presented as the true, eternal tomorrow, the reward given to those who flatly refuse to live with that Mayfly mindset. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought from the source to carry with you. If you truly grasp the reality of that eternal reward as your ultimate tomorrow, what are you going to do differently with the single piece of the puzzle you've been given today? Are you going to throw it away like a mayfly, or are you going to place it with purpose? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible perspective.